know what I mean? But, you know, I watched footage on the Great Day in Harlem and what that meant to them, man. And how Thelonious Monk came down and, you know what I mean? Yo, it means something to me.
Slick Rick is right there, man.
Old man trying to hang out with the young kids, you know what I mean?
That's wild. That is beautiful. That was worth just coming. I don't give a fuck if I ain't in no picture or nothing.
Good day and good night. Welcome back to the High and Low Retrospective, the place where we rewind and rewatch the shows, the sounds, the music, the cultural moments that made us who we are. In 1958, 57 jazz legends gathered on the Harlem stoop for a great day in Harlem. 40 years later, September 29, 1998, the same block became sacred ground again. This time, it wasn't jazz, it was hip-hop. More than 175 artists, MCs, DJs, producers, pioneers, they came together for a great day in hip-hop, organized by XXL Magazine and captured by Gordon Parks, the legendary photographer who once chronicled the civil rights movement. The photo froze the culture mid-stride, a single frame connecting past, present, and future. Every face told a story of who they were before that day and what they would become after it. Before the click of Gordon Parks' camera, hip-hop had already changed the world. Rakim had redefined what an MC could sound like, measured, intricate, intelligent.
I ain't no joke.
By 1998, he had just released the 18th letter, marking his return after years of silence. He was the bridge between the golden age and everything that came after, standing on that stoop as both myth and man.
Article about this man, they talk about his lyrical, unquestioned.
Once I see Rakim, my day will be complete.
Slick Rick and Outkast is on this jam.
Slick Rick had once been exiled from hip-hop spotlight, serving time after legal troubles. In 1998, he was freshly free, standing tall in Harlem, eye patch gleaming and all. A year later, he'd released The Art of Storytelling, his comeback record. That day on the stoop wasn't just symbolic, it was a homecoming.
Slick Rick is right there, man.
And then there was A Tribe Called Quest.
On point fight all the time, Tip.
Anchored by Q-Tip, their frontman. They just said goodbye with the love movement. For over a decade, they'd made hip-hop feel human, balancing jazz, thought, groove. That photo caught them at a threshold. One chapter ending, another waiting. Around them stood other legends of the craft: Kool Herc, Grandmaster Flash, Russell Simmons, Fab Five Freddy, Kool Moe Dee, Marley Marl, just to name a few. Constellation of legendary names that made Harlem's brownstone stoop feel like hip-hop's Mount Rushmore. Before that day, these artists had built hip-hop. On that day, they stood together to see what they'd created. By noon, Harlem's 126th Street was alive. Beats, laughter, shouts, and camera flashes. Black Thought was chopping it up with Rakim. Q-Tip leaned against a railing beside Phife Dawg. Gordon Parks, 85 years old at the time, raised his hand. The chatter stopped. And for one click of a shutter, hip-hop froze in perfect stillness. In that instant, the entire culture, from the Bronx to Oakland, from storytellers to stylists, became a family portrait. The past looked at the present looked toward the future. That was the power of that photograph. It wasn't just who was in it, but what it captured. 20 years of struggle, triumph, grief, and rhythm, all balanced on one Harlem stoop. What happened after the photograph is where the myth deepens. Wu-Tang Clan were already global legends. By 1998, their universe of solo projects, from Liquid Swords to Only Built for Cuban Links, had made them more mythology than music. After that photo, they'd continued to expand their empire. The W, Iron Flag, documentaries, TV series, brands, proving that collectives could move like corporations. De La Soul, Mos Def, and Talib Kweli, they represented something else that day. Hip-hop's conscience. Just weeks before the photo, Black Star had dropped, one of my favorite albums of all time. It spoke truth in an era obsessed with flash. De La, another one of my favorite groups of all time, had already delivered their critique with Stakes is High, a manifesto for honesty and authenticity. And for both groups, the years that followed were proof that consciousness wasn't a fad, it was the genre's soul. Formerly of leaders of the new school with classics like Sob Story, International Zone Coaster, and that legendary collab with A Tribe Called Quest on Scenario, where he said, "Row, row, like a dungeon dragon." Busta Rhymes went solo and delivered hits like Wu and Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Could See. He was hip-hop's lightning bolt, the joy in the madness. After 1998, he released a string of platinum albums and became a cultural mainstay. In 2023, he received the BET Lifetime Achievement Award, proof that longevity can be loud. Chicago's own Common, he evolved into one of hip-hop's most respected voices. From Resurrection to B to an Oscar for Glory, he was proof that introspection could become impact. The Roots, who stood near the back of the frame, would release Things Fall Apart months later, their breakout album. We got the hot music. They'd become the living heartbeat of hip-hop on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, carrying the culture into late-night television and global consciousness. Down in Atlanta, another movement was already blooming, the Dungeon Family. That day, its presence came through Cee-Lo. Cee-Lo Green, the youngest voice in Goody Mob and the soul that would later power Gnarls Barkley. I remember when. By 1998, Outkast of the Dungeon Family had already released The Criminai, redefining Southern innovation, while Cee-Lo and Goody Mob had brought spirituality and social commentary to the scene with Soul Food and Still Standing. Cee-Lo's inclusion in the photo connected Harlem's legacy to Atlanta's rising tide, a quiet acknowledgement that the South was not the future of hip-hop, it was hip-hop. After that day, Cee-Lo's journey from Goody Mob to Crazy and Forget You symbolized the South's creative evolution, from basement studios to global stages. That photo wasn't the end of an era. It was the line between what hip-hop had been and what it was about to become.
I'm coming straight out the NYC. Raps my J.O.B. and I'm MVP.
Big L, Harlem's own Big L, was just 24. He'd already dropped Lifestyles of the Poor and Dangerous and was on the brink of stardom. A few months later, he was gone, shot just blocks from where the photo was taken. His death gave the image new gravity, a reminder that legacy can be fleeting. By 1998, Pete Rock was already a legend. He and CL Smooth had created one of hip-hop's greatest elegies, They Reminisce Over You, TROY, from their debut album Mecca and the Soul Brother back in 1992. 2 years later, they would follow up with the classic LP Main Ingredient, another one of my favorite records. Pete Rock's genius production, courtesy of his SP-1200, was the backbone of arguably two of hip-hop's greatest sonic achievements, especially in the 90s. He represented the sound of warmth and analog as hip-hop transitioned into a digital era. After the photo, Pete Rock would continue his reign as one of hip-hop's most respected producers, if not the most respected producer, working with Nas, Common, and Busta Rhymes, just to name a few. His crate-digging ethic kept the 90s alive for every producer who followed, inspiring beatmakers like Jay Dilla and Ninth Wonder. Speaking of Ninth Wonder, his group Little Brother would be heavily influenced by Pete Rock and CL Smooth, going as far as to name-check them on their debut album, The Listening. Blue and Exile would do the same thing on their freshman offering, Below the Heavens. Both The Listening and Below the Heavens, two of my favorites, always get heavy rotation on my turntable and Spotify playlist. Just wanted to add that in there. Fat Joe stood as Bronx royalty, linking the birthplace of hip-hop to its modern heartbeat. He had just released Don Cartagena, and his protege, Big Pun, had gone platinum with Capital Punishment, the first Latino solo rapper to do it. In the years after that day, Joe carried that torch through tragedy after the passing of Big Pun. From Lean Back to All the Way Up, a symbol of hip-hop's resilience and reinvention. Black Moon represented the raw pulse of Brooklyn. Before that day, Black Moon was already legends of New York's underground. Their debut, Enter the Stage, one of my favorite hip-hop records of all time. I know, I have a lot of favorites, I know. Anyway, Black Moon, led by Buckshot, DJ Evil D, and 5FT, introduced a stripped-down, menacing sound that helped define the birth of hardcore East Coast hip-hop. They were the architects of the Boot Camp Click movement, blending street realism with head-nodding philosophy. By 1998, They'd weathered industry setbacks and label disputes, but their influence was everywhere. From Smith & Wesson to Helter Skelter, their sound had shaped an entire era of underground authenticity. After that day, they returned with Warzone in 1999, a comeback that reaffirmed their place in the lineage. Black Moon never chased pop success. They embodied hip-hop's backbone, raw, independent, and unbent. The Lox were the voice of loyalty, fresh off Money, Power, and Respect. They'd go on to build one of the most consistent careers in rap. Their story of control, ownership, and brotherhood would foreshadow the independence era hip-hop was heading toward. West Coast wordsmith Souls of Mischief from Oakland's Hieroglyphics crew brought balance to East Coast dominance. Their classic 93 Till Infinity, again, another one of my favorite albums, proved that complexity was not bound by zip code. Still touring decades later, they remain a benchmark for group chemistry. And please, do yourself a favor and watch the Red Bull Spiral Cypher. You'll thank me later. Together, all these artists and groups represented hip-hop's heartbeat, the struggle, the survival, and the sound of home from the Bay Area to the Bronx. When Gordon Parks pressed that shutter, he wasn't just documenting a genre. He was documenting a generation, a culture that began on street corners and ended up on magazine covers, gathered for one day as equals. So much talent gathered in one place, so many incredible minds sharing one space on this day. Too many for me to give the full treatment to with the weight and scope it truly deserves, but Gordon Parks certainly did on September 29, 1998. Within a few years, everything would change. The internet, file sharing, fame itself, but that image remains untouched. It's the moment before the break, when the beat stood still and the world was watching. A great day in hip-hop isn't just a photo. It's proof that even the loudest culture in the world knows when to stand in silence. So, that is a great day in hip-hop. A photograph that froze an entire movement between what it was and what it would become. A moment when Harlem became hip-hop's mirror, reflecting every sound, every soul, and every story that brought it there. Thanks for watching this one. Like, comment, share, and subscribe for more cultural retrospectives on the shows, the music, the films, the moments that made us who we are. Until next time, stay critical, stay nostalgic, and remember, sometimes history doesn't just move. It stands still.
It's greatness, man. It's a great day in Harlem, man. Know what I mean?